weird. The stewardess lady was acting weird, and I just felt something off. I got up to like, yo, we should leave. You know?
Did you know months after Juice WRLD passed away, his girlfriend Ollie Lottie went on Instagram live sharing, "You guys really think Juice passed from that? You're wrong, you are wrong, literally, you are wrong. There's a lot of stuff you guys don't know," as the feds would then release their new official file documenting everything that happened to him with a lot of new interesting details. As on December 8th, 2019, Juice WRLD, alongside his girlfriend Ollie, his filmer and security, were boarding onto a private jet and flying into Chicago. Juice WRLD and were around 30 minutes late, but it also took the pilot an additional 30 minutes to even get the flight started, and everything felt very weird to Juice WRLD's friends, as according to the police, the pilot was the first one on the plane. He was awaiting Juice WRLD and his company to show up, but once they did and began boarding the jet, the pilot was able to smell narcotics. He then exited the plane to go call law enforcement, creating the massive setup on Juice WRLD at the airport is also what caused the 30-minute extra delay on Juice WRLD's private jet. He had multiple illegal items, from 70 pounds of extracurricular items, all sealed into massive bags stuffed into suitcases. He had 2 firearms with high-capacity magazines alongside multiple items that were in Ollie Lottie's handbag. This made many blame the pilot for Juice WRLD's passing, including Ollie L. herself once said, "I've lost 2 of the most important people in my life because of snitches." Those words carried a weight that few could truly understand, but for those who lived in the world of fast success, fame, and the ever-present shadow of the law, they rang painfully true. On that fateful flight, everything seemed normal. Just another trip in the whirlwind lifestyle of a star on the rise. Juice WRLD and his team were relaxed, enjoying the quiet hum of the private jet as it soared through the skies. The altitude, the distance from reality, gave them a brief moment of peace, as it often did. The usual conversations, laughter, and occasional music playing in the background made it feel like any other trip. But the calm before a storm is often the most deceptive part. As they approached Chicago, where Juice was set to land, the routine followed its usual course. The flight crew announced that they were nearing their destination, signaling the passengers that they could soon switch their phones off airplane mode. One by one, members of Juice's team powered their devices back on, letting the outside world flood back in. Then, it began. Around 5 minutes before landing, a series of urgent messages and calls started bombarding Juice WRLD's security team. The ones waiting for him at the airport were growing frantic, their communications escalating in intensity. These weren't just casual check-ins or updates on their arrival. This was something else. The words were direct, almost cryptic, but their meaning was unmistakable. For a moment, the atmosphere inside the jet shifted. The silence inside the jet became deafening. The once lighthearted atmosphere had shifted into something unspoken but undeniable, an overwhelming sense that trouble was ahead. The flickering glow of phone screens illuminated tense faces as messages continued to pour in, each new notification deepening the unease. Juice WRLD, despite his exhaustion, couldn't ignore the sudden change in mood. He leaned forward slightly, eyes scanning his team as they exchanged hurried whispers. His security detail, usually calm and collected, now seemed unusually alert. One of them muttered something under his breath, shaking his head before tapping furiously at his phone. "What's going on?" Juice might have asked, his voice low but edged with curiosity. No immediate response. It wasn't just about keeping him in the dark, it was about figuring out how much they even knew themselves. The messages were vague, cryptic in a way that suggested urgency but lacked details. The only thing that was clear? They had to be ready for anything the moment they touched down. Outside, the city lights of Chicago stretched beneath them, a sprawling maze of streets and buildings that should have felt familiar. But now, they carried an air of unpredictability. The jet's descent was smooth, routine, but inside, nothing felt routine anymore. As the landing gear deployed, the tension reached its peak. Juice took a slow breath, preparing for whatever or whoever was waiting on the other side of that runway.
You got the footwork. Like you.
At this juncture, widespread panic ensued, prompting Juice WRLD to ingest numerous items from his carry-on bag. Law enforcement surmised that during the flight, as Juice WRLD and his entourage awaited his arrival, he increasingly consumed the contents of his handbag in an effort to conceal them from the authorities and mitigate potential charges. The plane was rented in Juice WRLD's name. This means a lot of the illegal items on the flight would have been put onto him, and the law enforcement eyes were unsure of the exact amount of time Juice WRLD would have been locked up in prison for, but according to online lawyers, they predict a maximum of 20 years inside a prison for using a private jet to transport 70 pounds of narcotics across the United States while also carrying 2 illegal firearms. Hearing that information would have caused anyone to freak out and get nervous. Then, when you add the items Juice WRLD took mixed in, law enforcement, according to the official file states, Juice WRLD heart then went into overdrive, sadly causing the incident while leaving the private jet while paramedics were helping out Juice WRLD. The feds and K9 unit were going through the luggage that was on the plane. The dogs were very quick to sniff out the legal items that were stuffed into this suitcase, raising the question on why Juice WRLD would even attempt to bring this on a private jet. This would then later be answered. A link inside of the Fed official file would share a video from Juice WRLD's filmer. He would end up revealing before Juice WRLD passed away his birthday party was coming up. They were transporting the illegal items so they didn't have to purchase them in the birthday location. Weekend, we're going to Chicago to celebrate his birthday. It was just his birthday the other day, but we're going this weekend, Saturday. We're flying out there. We're going to have a birthday party with his mom and family and friends and stuff like that from out there. So then 2 of the rapper security guards were also arrested at the scene for firearms while inside of the airport. Later, Juice WRLD photographer was also then arrested and booked. He was charged with a misdemeanor for a firearm violation. It's alleged that he actually took the hit for one of the firearms that were owned by a security or even owned by Juice then. With the investigation in place, rapper Bowie would suggest the pilot of the plane was ultimately responsible for the passing of Juice WRLD, referring to the pilot as a snitch. How did law enforcement ascertain that Juice WRLD would be transporting several pounds of illegal narcotics on the plane? Did it relate to Ollie's numerous trafficking charges, or was this a scheme for Juice WRLD to finally extricate himself from the limelight? As the federal authorities would ultimately maintain a dedicated section in their documents referencing Juice WRLD's fabricated passing, which would be shared in a tweet stating, "My goal is to become excessively famous, flourish for a few years, and thereafter feign my demise." The truth was ultimately disclosed with the launch of his new album, The Party Never Ends. It commences with Lil Baby's Instagram post stating, "The GOAT, we party next week," referencing the highly anticipated album. The rollout commenced on December 16th with Juice WRLD's release of the single, Lie. It featuring Eminem. As Benny would write on Instagram, "People always say like this song means a lot to me, or that it changed my life when discussing a piece of music that they are listening to. Law, it truly gives that a new meaning to me because the day that we recorded was also the last time that I ever saw Juice. Every day that moment gets further away, and I would trade this or any other song we did just to have him back. I did not anticipate crying while composing this, yet here we are." Jared, your talent is unparalleled. Your laughter and spirit are contagious. I will play this song so loudly that you can hear it in heaven tonight. We miss you. Benny will also share this interview, which connects with his remarks about Juice WRLD. In this interview, he performs the entire song from beginning to end. He then instructs to replay it and select the best version. In that moment, I was astounded and realized I was in the presence of a superstar. However, it was only when Eminem expressed his admiration for Juice WRLD that the notion of Juice WRLD still being alive was entirely dispelled. The influence of Juice WRLD on the next generation of artists was undeniable, and one artist in particular made it a point to acknowledge that inspiration. In an interview, he openly credited Juice for shaping his own approach to music, particularly when it came to freestyling. Man, shout out to Juice too. That kid was so talented, man. Like, yo, his freestyle game was unreal. That hour-long freestyle he did on Westwood? Like, what the? That's the kind of stuff we used to try to do back in the day at the hip-hop shop. There was a genuine admiration in his voice, a recognition of just how rare Juice WRLD's talent was. Freestyling for an hour straight wasn't just about skill. It required an unmatched level of creativity, stamina, and an almost instinctive connection to rhythm and words. Juice WRLD didn't just practice freestyling, he lived it. It was second nature to him, something that set him apart even among the best. But what made Juice even more remarkable was how quickly he had mastered his craft. The artist continued, reflecting on Juice's rapid rise. To be so young and to have mastered that so quickly, man, his potential was off the charts. Juice WRLD wasn't just another rapper who could freestyle. He had the ability to tap into emotions and experiences in real time, creating music on the spot that resonated with millions. That kind of gift is rare, and those who recognized it knew just how significant his impact was. But here's where things take an unexpected turn during Juice WRLD Fest. A celebration of his life and music, exclusive footage of Juice surfaced. Footage that had never been seen before. The clips offered a raw, unfiltered look at his creative process, his thoughts, and moments that had been kept behind closed doors. However, not everyone was on board with the release of this footage. Ollie L., someone who had been deeply connected to Juice and his legacy, was not happy about it. She had made it clear that there were certain things she didn't want out in the public eye, moments that were personal, private, perhaps even too vulnerable to share. Yet, despite her wishes, the footage still made its way out. The reaction was immediate. Fans were both excited and shocked, eager to get a glimpse of the unseen side of Juice WRLD, but also aware that this might not have been what he, or those closest to him, would have wanted. The festival, meant to honor his memory, had also sparked a debate about boundaries, privacy, and the way legacies are handled after an artist's passing. Among those grappling with these questions were Juice WRLD's closest friends, family members, and collaborators. Some believed that sharing everything, every lyric, every freestyle, every fragment of creativity was the best way to keep his spirit alive. Others, however, felt that some things should remain sacred, left as personal relics of a life lived too fast and cut too short. The debate extended beyond his inner circle to the fans, sparking conversations on social media and forums dedicated to his music. The festival itself was a spectacle of emotions. Visual tributes illuminated the stage, showing behind-the-scenes clips of Juice WRLD in his element, laughing with friends, lost in the music, caught in moments of unfiltered passion. Some fans cheered as unreleased tracks played over the speakers, while others stood in silence, absorbing the moment with a bittersweet heaviness. It was both a celebration of his genius and a stark reminder of what had been lost. Juice WRLD's impact stretched far beyond his music. He had been a symbol of honesty in an industry that often masked reality with glamour. His lyrics were confessions, unfiltered and raw, resonating with those who felt unheard. He had built a community around his music, a space where fans could find solace, where they could feel understood. In many ways, this festival was an extension of that community, a place where people came together not just to honor his memory, but to support one another, to share their grief, their love, and their gratitude. Yet, the festival also raised an uncomfortable truth about the way society handles posthumous fame. The music industry has long profited from artists even after their passing, sometimes releasing work that may not align with the artist's original vision. With Juice WRLD, the urgency to release new material, to keep his legacy alive through unfinished songs and personal archives, created an ethical dilemma. Was this truly in his best interest, or was it a case of commercialization overshadowing intention? For many fans, there was no clear answer. Some viewed the festival as a gift, an opportunity to feel connected to Juice WRLD once more. Others worried that the deeper meaning of his music was being diluted by the very machine he had often spoken against. The industry that had fueled his rise had also contributed to his struggles, and now, in his absence, it was still shaping his narrative. As the night drew to a close, a final tribute played. A montage of Juice WRLD's most powerful moments, accompanied by his voice reciting some of his most memorable lyrics. The crowd swayed, some with tears in their eyes, others singing along with unshaken devotion. It was a poignant reminder that, despite the debates and the ethical concerns, Juice WRLD's impact was undeniable. He had given the world a piece of himself, and in return, his fans carried his legacy forward. The festival ended, but the conversations it sparked continued. How do we honor an artist while respecting their wishes? How do we celebrate their work without exploiting it? These were questions that had no easy answers, but one thing remained clear: Juice WRLD's music, his message, and his memory would live on, not just in the releases that came after him, but in the hearts of those who truly understood what he stood for.